Hello everybody and welcome back to the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations walkthrough. It is time to continue on with our investigation into Bridge to the Turnabout. This is the last phase of investigating that we're going to get to do in this episode. And, oh dear, 5 locks. Iris is okay, at least, but, how the hell are there now 5 locks? That's just ridiculous. So, yeah, just none of this is good. So obviously, Edgy's green in the face, or at least incredibly pale, because he's remembering the DL6 incident, because he got trapped in a lift with his father when there was an earthquake and they got trapped. A bit of redundancy there, but oh well. And that is when his father was murdered, so obviously he has a deep fear of earthquakes. And obviously Nick's just terrified of the fact that Maya is hurt. So, So tell us the truth, Iris, please. Because we need to know. Now, this is the thing that I find deeply suspicious. So, when we left, there was only 1. And when we've come back, there are now 5. Now, the only person who has come in here since is Iris, which would suggest that she was involved in the placing of the extra 4. So something is really not good at all. Now, obviously what Iris is saying here makes sense. It is possible to break every trick lock if you go through every single combination and hopefully find one that works. But yeah, she's just going to spend the day doing this. Which is really not good, because then that means that Maya will have been without food and drink for 2.5. Well, actually, no. Probably be... Oh no, it will probably be about 2.5 days by the time we get through it. So, it's not good in the slightest. And, 3 Cyclocks, eh? I mean, I thought we were going to get 5, because pretty much most of the Cyclocks that you get in this late stage of the game are going to be 5s. But that one's only a 3, so that one should hopefully be relatively easy to break, I would have thought. And, oh, Edgeworth. You do feel sorry for him. I mean, after all, like, he's terrified of earthquakes, and if you'd been through what he had, you would be as well. Because it's just not fun. It's awful. And it's terrifying. But yeah, Edgy, you're gonna have to tell us what you found out about Iris, because it's kind of very important. Like, would actually like to know that information, because that will hopefully allow us to hone in more on exactly what is going on with this case, because there's so much that is up in the air right now. Like, so much that's up in the air. And we just need to kind of pin it all down. Stop it from escaping before we run out of time to make sure the truth comes out. And here's Nick telling everyone a story that we all already know. But you see, this is why I found Trials and Tribulations such a... For the fact that it's the last game in a trilogy, it's why I found it such an easy access point into the franchise, because it goes through all the important bits of backstory for the characters when it's most relevant, and therefore you understand what happened, and it just all makes everything make sense, even if you have no prior knowledge of what's been going on. I mean, to be fair, I would still say it's a bit daft to start the Ace Attorney trilogy on Trials and Tribulations. I would always recommend start with the first game and work your way through, because everything's a lot more satisfying if you had that build-up. But either way, that's just the way it rolls. But yes. So Edgeworth is remembering his first trial in court, which, as we all know, was Turnabout Beginnings, in which there was Dahlia Hawthorne. And you see, I don't believe you. That woman is so related. So incredibly related. But we don't have that information just yet to be able to go, this is it. And to get that name finally out there into the open. I don't know why the game is so hesitant to bring that name into this case. Like, it's been mentioned so often throughout this game. It's quite clear from who Iris looks like that we're all talking about Dahlia Hawthorne. But we just need that moment to go, yes, Dahlia is entirely connected to this case. And, oh look, I don't think I'd ever properly noticed the pictures of Larry and Iris on the hut there. That's quite cute. And, Little Pearls is okay still-ish, at least. And, I'm sorry, what, Losers Shack? I mean, you can sort of wallow in your own misery, but that's not exactly going to get you very far, is it? Like, I mean, I'm sat here and because of my fixed-term contract at work coming to a close in a couple of months, I'm currently in the process of applying for jobs, and while I took failure and rejection very hard the last time I was in this position, I mean, thankfully, medication does wonders. Yeah, so the antidepressants are a godsend in this sort of situation. But as hard as the rejection is, you can never wallow in calling yourself a loser and saying you're never going to get anywhere. Although I know that probably at some point during the next month or two, if luck isn't on my side and the jobs that I'm applying for don't go anywhere, then there's a chance that I may end up wallowing in my own misery for a bit, because it goes to the very foundation of what I don't want to be the case. Obviously, because I did well at school and at university, and I know that I can do the jobs that I'm applying for. It's just that you don't have that belief from other people in you, and that makes you feel like you're a failure and you're a loser. And when you start to think like that, it's very difficult to pull yourself back up out of that hole. But it's always worth trying, because if you're not positive, then people will see that, and it becomes a sort of vicious cycle on its own. Because if you think you can't do something, then you'll go in with a negative attitude, and then you won't be able to do it, if that makes any sense. You can be realistic about things, don't get me wrong, but you have just got to try and stay positive. And that is what nobody here is doing right now, apart from Nick, really. But yeah, Pearl has 5 Cyclops as well. Quite funnily, it's in a unique orientation, because the 5th Cyclops is above her head rather than kind of in the middle of her body, but that's because she's so small. If it was where it would normally be, it would be blocking her face, so obviously they moved it up, which I think is quite fitting, and actually kind of cute that they did that. But let's return to Sister Bikini, and let's see if we can find out more about Iris. So yes, come on, Sister Bikini. You need to tell us the truth about everything that happened. So yes, we have the whole thing of branch families, and it's always kind of fascinating, because particularly in instances like this, there does tend to be a lot of bloodshed about things. So, using Yoo-hoo answers, which is not necessarily always the most accurate of things, one person said that in Japan, the main family, the Honke, generally passes down through the eldest sons. Other sons then will form the branch families, the Bunke. Over generations, this forms a pyramid structure, and ultimately stems from ancestor worship. And although it isn't really that important today, particularly in the cities and the countryside, everyone knows their relationship regarding the Honke, so it is still sort of important. And obviously in this whole thing of main families and branch families, quite often there's the whole stereotype that members of the branch families get jealous of the power that the main family holds, and therefore they seek to bring an end to them. In a way, it's very similar to the way the kings and queens of England fought over the throne of England throughout kind of the Middle Ages, because you had the direct line of descendants up until Richard II, but then he was overthrown by Henry IV, who asserted his claim to the throne. He was essentially a member of a branch family, and so he then usurped the throne. It went to his son Henry V, which I believe the throne then went to his son, which I'm pretty sure was Henry VI. Not 100% sure on that one. But then other branches kind of came into play, because then you have Richard III killing off Henry VI and basically trying to decimate the main family, or what had become the main family. And so on. And then you had Henry VII come in and usurp the throne, using kind of genealogy and all that jazz. And so it sort of all kind of pulls together of branches trying to take over the main regal families. Thankfully we don't really have that anymore, but still. Obviously, Morgan is evil. I mean, you can tell from the way she looks that she's a bit of a monster. And I'm sorry, what now? I think something has just gone kaboom. We have it's pearls. And so it is all going to begin to unravel. So it turns out that Morgan Fay had more than one daughter. She didn't just have Pearl. She also had Iris. And she didn't just have two, she had three. And the other was Iris's twin sister. And considering we know who Iris looks so much like, I think we can probably guess who her twin sister is. And He was a jeweler? Oh boy. This is the moment where this case is finally going to drag in the name of that twin sister that we know oh so well. And I feel so sorry for Pearls. Like, for her entire life she never knew that she had two older sisters. And she also, well, she's got a mother who's, well, was an accessory to murder, and has also planned a murder. And now she's got a sister, not a twin sister, she's got a sister who has a twin sister, who is involved in another murder trial, accused of murder. So, yeah. And this is quite fun. Although I have to say, I wouldn't be feeling quite so jolly, considering the situation that we are trying to resolve. And yes, every case may be attempted to be airtight, but quite clearly, in this instance, it is not. There are so many holes in this case, it is basically Swiss cheese. I'm surprised that it's managing to hold together, but we need to properly figure stuff out. And this is going to be quite fun. A little bit annoying, but quite fun. Because we're going to find the real murder weapon. And that is going to be so super helpful. But also, because she's talking about a letter, and I believe that this letter may also prove to be particularly helpful in this case. Oh, so, that's very suspicious that Prosecutor Godot thinks it's going to be a very ugly situation. And a burnt up old letter, hey? I think we should probably have a read of this, because if it was found in the incinerator, then, well, we kind of figured that it had been used. So someone wanted to get rid of it. But clearly they didn't quite manage it. And this is going to be super incredibly helpful. So let's just have a read. Obviously, part of it's destroyed, so we're not going to be able to read it. But if it's all spirit mediums and masters and stuff, then this is going to be very, 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 very important indeed. So I think before we actually do any sort of presenting, let's have a look at this burnt letter. Channel her spirit. Oh gosh. And that is ridiculously kind of over the top. Gravely roast. Why? Why would you use such terminology? Like, just no? I mean, I suppose you'd want to kind of not include the word, yeah, can you just kill this person, or can you just destroy this thing, or what have you. Like, that would just be a bit too easy, and obviously if that got out of prison, then seriously the police officers should be actually doing their job properly, because that should never get out. But what's important is that we have the letter, and it's going to help us out quite a good deal. And now this is going to be something quite fun, but as I said, slightly annoying as well, because it is the return of the metal detector. Obviously we had this in Turnabout Goodbyes, which is, I believe, how we found out the truth about Gordy at Lake Gord. And yeah, so the secret weapon is going to come out to play again, but it's going to be a lot more annoying to use than it was back then, because it's very loud. And because obviously I have recorded this footage via Desmoom, it's got that really irritating beep that gets like really loud whenever you get close to something that is metallic. Now, imagine playing this particular tutorial and the actual bit of the gameplay in slow motion with that sound. Like, there are sections of the game where I've had to do that because the emulator's kind of slowed to a crawl. But I've been able to just about deal with it, because even though the soundtrack's in that sort of beep boopy type sound because of the GBA/DS sound chip, it was bearable because you still had the song playing. It was just a really slow version. But that beeping, oh my god. Oh, I nearly went out of my mind. It was... oh, it was absolutely awful. And I nearly cried. Well, I didn't nearly cry. That's going a bit above and beyond, but it was bloody painful. But either way, I believe that we have found the real murder weapon, because it's a sword in a staff, and it's Elise Donim's, well, Misty Faye's staff that managed to lose the orb at some point during the night. And it would make sense because it would have gotten carried over here. Because if you're going to try and think through this logically, if that was the real murder weapon, then when they were transporting the body, then that would have stayed in her body, because otherwise there would have been all the blood spurts. Which means that that would have made her... the fact that the sword would have been plugging up the hole would have made her easier to transport to get it to here. And then obviously that was the point when the sword was removed and Iris plunged the Shikishito into Elise Donim, Misty Faye's body. So that bit all makes sense, but how did the body get from the inner temple to the Hazakura temple in... well, after the bridge was burning? That doesn't make any sense. So I think we're going to have to figure out what was going on there. But now that we know what the actual murder weapon is, as long as we, keep it a secret from everybody, we should hopefully have an ace up our sleeves when we head into court tomorrow. But we've got a little bit more investigating to do before then, because we need to find the truth out from Pearl. We need to find out exactly what she's hiding and break the final investigative cyclock of the game. Let's go.